Same thing as always. Let's find our comfortable sitting position and create a little bit of focus, almost as though we're in the studio, even though we're all actually at home. So maybe find a position that feels vaguely comfortable, maybe starting to notice if anything in the body feels a bit stiff or tired. Maybe having a little bit of a wiggle one side to another for a few seconds. And then letting the hands fall wherever they want to, wherever feels most natural. Maybe closing the eyes, tucking the chin towards the chest. Really drawing all of the senses inward. So letting any external noise pass by, any traffic, the sounds of people moving about the house. All those things aren't relevant for the next 40 minutes or so. And if it helps, or if you're struggling to keep a hang on to the focus, maybe start to count the inhales and the exhales, just to give you something to think about. Let's take one more inhale. And one more exhale. Let's blink the eyes open. And let's take a couple of side bends to start. So we're going to drop the right hand down onto the mat. You can drop the left if you wish, it doesn't matter. We're going to raise the other arm up overhead. So opening out through the side of the body and then taking a little bend over the hand that's on the mat to make that side bend a little deeper. If you know that you can get really deep into a side bend, it doesn't matter if it's not right now. This is the very first movement, maybe even the first movement of the day. So give yourself a bit of a break if it doesn't feel particularly nice. Inhale it back through center. Let's drop the hand to the other side. Lift the other arm up overhead, getting this sense of opening. And then maybe bending a little bit more over the side to accelerate that opening feeling in the side of the body. Breathe in. And exhale. And on the inhale, let's bring it all back through center. We're going to come to a kneeling position. And we're going to shuffle back towards the back of the mat a little bit. Not the whole way back, you don't need that much space, but just so that we've got enough space in front of us. And we're going to take sun salutes from kneeling, and then we're going to do our sun salutes from standing as well. So we're kind of focusing on opening out lots of different parts of the body at once. If for some reason you really don't like your knees being bent like this, feel free to move them aside or separate them a little bit if that helps. We won't be here for too long. So you're going to drop the hands down beside the body. And then we're going to take a big breath in, reach the arms up overhead. And on the exhale, float everything forward and down. As you get closer to the mat, you sort of have to do it with a little bit of control. So we're dropping the hands down, almost bringing the forehead to the floor. And then on the inhale, pushing down into the elbows, start to move the chest and the head forward through the hands, almost like a little cobra. And on the exhale, let's tuck the toes and let's lift the hips up for our first downward dog. So you can separate the feet a little bit here, maybe try to find a little bit of comfort, maybe pedal the feet once or twice. And then take a big breath in. And on the exhale, we're going to bring it back to our kneeling position again. We're going to sit the bum back onto the heels, start to pull the hands in towards the body. Needs a little bit of control again. And once they're in towards the middle, lift the arms up overhead. Maybe take a little bit of a back bend. And on the exhale, bring the arms back down by the sides. We're going to do the same thing again. So take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead. Maybe a little back bend if you liked that. And on the exhale, fold the torso forward and down, hands onto the mat with control, dipping the head like a little child's pose, tucking everything underneath. And on the inhale, coming onto the forearms, pushing the head and the chest through the hands, almost like a little cobra. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up to make our downward dog. So lifting the hips towards the ceiling, feel free to move the feet and the hands as much as you need to. It's quite a lot to ask at 7:15 in the morning, especially if you were in bed at 7:09. Take a breath in and lift the hips. And on the exhale, let's lower the knees back down to the mat. Let's drop the bum towards the heels. Let's start to pull the hands in towards the knees. And once they get there, take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead, take a little back bend if you like. And exhale the hands back down by the sides. We're going to place the hands on the floor in front of us and we're going to tuck it forward to come to our tabletop position. Make sure it feels vaguely comfortable. And we're going to come for a couple of cat cows. We kind of already practiced this in our sitting sun salute, but take a breath in, lift the head up, drop the belly down. And on the exhale, rounding the spine, tucking the chin towards the chest. Inhale, lift the head up, drop the belly down. And on the exhale, tuck everything underneath, really pushing into the mat like you could lift off. And on the breath in, let's bring it all back through neutral. So we're going to drop back down onto the forearms again, and we're going to point the hands forward. I always do this in slightly different ways. We're going to start to tuck the fingers in and out, kind of making fists as quickly as you possibly can, but still pointing the hands forward. It gets tiring pretty fast. Once it does, that's fine. We just want to get some warmth into the fingers and the hands. Once you've done it like 20 or so times, or you've started to lose the will to go on, release the hands, maybe give them a little bit of a shake, maybe interlace the fingers together, give a little wiggle from one side to another, maybe turning little circles, anything to make the hands feel a little bit warmer, because we're going to come into our first full downward dog for slightly longer. So you're going to place the hands back on the floor, separate the fingers out nice and wide. Let's tuck the toes underneath, and let's lift the hips up towards the ceiling for our first long downward dog. So we're keeping the hips lifted as much as possible. If you want to keep the knees bent, that's absolutely fine. Every inhale, maybe trying to lift the hips a little taller. And on the exhale, if you do have space, you can start to think about lengthening out through the legs. Totally up to you. Maybe you want to keep pedaling with the feet. All fine. Take one more breath in. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and look forward. Inhale, step the right foot forward and the left foot forward. Let's grab hold of opposite elbows, take a little sway one side to another, really feeling the stretch in the backs of the legs on either side as you go. And then let's bring it all back to center. Drop the hands down towards the floor, bend the knees a little bit. And on the breath in, start to lift everything upright. There's no need to rush, you can take your time. Last thing up, shoulders, neck, head. And once we're there, let's take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead, gaze up. And on the exhale, fold the hands down to the mat, bend the knees as much as you wish. On the inhale, let's bring the hands to the shins or fingertips to the floor, really lengthening through the backs of the legs. And exhale, plant the hands on the ground, step the right foot back and the left foot back to our plank. And let's lower it down. Knees first is fine, tucking the elbows in. Inhale forward for our cobra. If you want to do this on the forearms, that's fine. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Maybe it's already starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. Maybe you can find a little stillness with hips in the air. But if you need to, feel free to pedal the feet. If you decide that you need a child's pose instead, that's fine too. Do whatever feels necessary. Take a big breath in, lengthen, pushing the hips into the air. And on the exhale, find a little bit of stillness. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and look forward. Inhale, step or jump it to the top of the mat if you fancy. Lengthen through the backs of the legs, reaching the fingertips towards the floor or hands on shins is fine. And exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands. Inhale, let's straighten the legs, reach the arms up overhead, gaze up towards the ceiling. And exhale, back to standing. Let's take our Surya Namaskar B. Take a breath in, arms up overhead, sitting down into our little chair, Utkatasana. And exhale the hands down to the floor, keep the knees bent. Let's inhale to the fingertips, lengthening the backs of the legs, hands on shins is still fine. And exhale, plant the hands, step or jump it back to our plank. And let's lower it all down. Knees first is still good by me. Inhale forward for our upward dog or cobra. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Let's inhale the right foot forward between the hands. Drop the left heel down, stretch the arms up overhead with front leg bent for warrior one. Take a breath in here. And on the exhale, stretch the right arm forward, stretch the left arm back behind. Inhale the arms back to center. And exhale, left arm forward, right arm back. Might feel a little trickier. Inhale the arms back through center. And on the exhale, let's fold the hands back down to the floor. Step the right foot back and lower it all down. Inhale forward to our cobra or upward dog. And on the exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Let's inhale, bring the left foot forward between the hands. Drop the right heel down, stretch the arms up overhead. Front leg bent for our warrior one. Breathe in. And on the exhale, let's bring the left hand forward, right arm back. And inhale it back through center. And on the exhale, right arm forward, left arm back might feel trickier. Breathe in, back to the center. And on the exhale, let's fold the hands down to the mat. Step the left leg back to join the right in our plank and lower it down. Inhale forward to our upward dog or cobra. And on the exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. By now, everything should feel a little bit warmer, a little bit stretched out, maybe even getting to the point where some things feel a little looser. If you've noticed that there's something in the body that still feels a little bit stiff, throughout the practice, feel free to focus on it, trying to loosen it out. Equally, if you just don't fancy that, you can totally ignore it. You can skip past it anytime it's involved, all fine. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and gaze forward. Let's inhale, step the right foot forward. We're going to step the left foot forward as well, but outside the right one. So step the left foot forward and hook it around the outside of the right leg so that you've got kind of your baby toes in the same internal line. The chances of getting your two legs to line up perfectly is extremely unlikely, but have a little wiggle until you get them as close as you can so you've got the legs fully crossed. Come to a little halfway lift, stretching the hands towards the floor, maybe already feeling a big stretch in the back of the hamstring. On the exhale, maybe you can start to fold a little bit further forward. You may not reach the floor, but maybe you could hang on to the leg. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, going a little bit further again if you've got space. Once you hit the point where the back of the leg just feels like it's having the most intense stretch ever, there's no need to go any further. You've already got there. Take a breath in. And one last exhale. On the inhale, let's come back to our little halfway lift, stretching the fingers towards the floor. And let's really softly unhook the left leg from the right leg. Place the left foot next to the right one. Take a breath in, swoop the arms up overhead, sitting down into our chair. And exhale. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, let's straighten the legs, reaching the hands back down towards the floor again. So same thing, but opposite side. So maybe shuffle the left foot in a little bit towards the right. And then let's hook the right leg around the outside of the left. It's not dainty, this, or elegant. Fumble through it as best you can so that the legs are crossed. And the baby toes are kind of next to each other in this central line. Take a breath in. Lengthen through the spine, reaching the fingers towards the floor. And on the exhale, maybe going a little bit further forward. Once you've gone forward enough, maybe rest the hands against the legs. Totally up to you. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And one more exhale. On the breath in, let's start to release the right hand or the right foot from the left. So unhook it, bring it to rest alongside the left leg, hands reaching down towards the floor. Inhale, let's reach the arms up overhead, bending the knees, sitting back into our chair. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more breath in. And on the exhale, let's start to straighten, bringing it all back to our Tadasana at the top of the mat. Give everything a little bit of a wiggle. Quite a lot of work to demand in the first 15 minutes. Take a big breath in, lengthen as much as you can, find a comfortable position. Make sure you've got quite a bit of space in front of you. And on the exhale, we're going to start to shrug the body forward and down. So almost like liquid, let the head drop, let the shoulders drop and the arms flop forward. Letting the torso sink down towards the floor. So kind of feel the weight in the body so that you can get as close as possible to the toes, being fairly passive. We don't want to reach too far. Once you've hit the limit of where your passive kind of dropping can get you, maybe take one last little push, reach towards the toes, grab hold of the toes with the 2 fingers on either hand. If you don't want to reach the toes or can't, hold on to the back of the legs instead, all fine. And we'll come for our full forward fold. So take a big breath in, lengthen through the spine. And on the exhale, maybe bending the elbows out to the side, surrendering the head down, dropping forward little bit by little bit. We do this quite a lot, and sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of a play when we're in it. So regardless of where the hands are, maybe think about tipping the weight forward into the balls of the feet and notice how quickly it feels like you're going to fall over. And then maybe tip it backwards into the heels a little bit, noticing what the bum does and how the feet feel they have to lift off the floor. So if you like this going back and forward, that's fine. If you don't like it, that's fine too. Take one last inhale here, lengthening through the backs of the legs. And on the exhale, let's release the hands from the feet. Let the fingers kind of tip against the floor. Give the legs a little bit of a shake. On the next inhale, we're going to roll back upwards the way we came down. So nice and slowly, you can keep a little bend in the knees if you wish, but imagine it just going backwards. Lightly lifting everything upwards, vertebra by vertebra. Last thing up, as always, shoulders, neck, head. Maybe give everything a little bit of a sway from one side to another. If something feels particularly stiff, maybe try and stretch it out a little bit. Amazing. And we're going to come to our next little section. So we're going to step the left foot forward a little bit. We're going to step the right foot out behind us, coming in for our warrior 1 position. So we're pointing the right foot in a little bit at 45 degrees. We're going to take an inhale, reach the arms up overhead. And on the exhale, we're going to bend over that left knee. So usually we don't spend too long in warrior 1 anyway. So breathe in to grow super tall, stretching the arms high. And on the exhale, if you've got space, bending that front knee a little bit more. Breathe in. And exhale. If you fancy it, the next inhale, do nothing. But on the exhale, maybe take a little bit of a back bend, reaching the arms behind you. When I say a little bit, like 2 inches might be enough. Don't overdo. And then inhale, let's come back through the center. Grow really, really tall. And on the exhale, let's bring the hands down towards the hips. We're going to straighten the front leg a little bit. And we're going to step the right foot out towards the side of the mat a little bit. Bring the arms behind the body. You can interlace the fingers together, come to reverse prayer. Do whichever variation you prefer. Take a big breath in, lengthen through the spine. And on the exhale, let's fold the torso forward and down. If you've got space, maybe you can pull the shoulder blades in towards one another, lifting the hands away from the lower spine. If for whatever reason today is not the day for that, you could also reach the hands towards the floor. And even if they don't reach the floor, you could rest them against the front leg. So there's lots of different options here depending on what feels most comfortable and accessible. Take a big breath in. And use the exhale to maybe push a little bit further forward if you've got space. And if you don't have space, it doesn't matter. If this already feels like a really big stretch in the back of the leg, that's fine. You've gone far enough. Take one more inhale. And one more exhale. And on the inhale, wherever your hands are at, let's bring them back to the hips. Let's tuck the chin towards the chest. And let's slowly move everything back upright so that we're in our straight torso position. We're going to bend the right knee and we're going to drop that right knee down onto the floor. So we want the legs to be kind of square. I've landed a little bit close, so you can feel free to move the legs a little bit so that you've got more space, better distance. Take a big breath in, reach the right arm up overhead, and let's cross it across the body. Right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Once it's there, bring the left hand on top of the right, make a little prayer, and start to twist the torso sideways, maybe looking up over the left shoulder. And if you fancy going a little further and you feel the balance is good, you can tuck the right toes underneath and lift the right knee off the floor as well. So you've got two different options. Totally up to you which one you go for. This can be quite a big ask, especially early in the morning, and it asks a lot of the balance. So if looking up kind of puts you off, just look somewhere else instead. The looking up is the bit that I find to be the worst. Wherever you're at, take a breath in. And on the exhale, let's lower the right leg back down. Let's look towards the left foot. Let's plant the hands around the left foot. Let's lift the right knee off the floor, step the left foot back to join the right in our plank, and let's lower it down. Inhale forward to our cobra or upward dog. And on the exhale, let's bring it back to our downward dog. On the inhale, let's bring the right foot forward between the hands. Let's drop the left heel down. Let's stretch the arms up overhead, front leg bent, and we're back in our warrior one, opposite side. So breathe in, straighten the arms, stretch upwards. And on the exhale, if you've got space, bending a little more over the right knee. Inhale, grow tall. And maybe on the exhale, take the little back bend if you liked it. If you didn't like it, there's no need. Inhale back through center. And on the exhale, let's bring the hands back down by the hips. Let's straighten this front leg. And step the left foot out towards the edge of the mat a little bit. So we're widening the stance. You can bring the hands behind you, interlace them together, come to reverse prayer, or if you want to just float the hands to the floor, that's fine too. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, let's float the torso forward and down over this straight right leg. Taking the same variation on the second side if you can. And if you think that you want to go a little bit further, maybe you can step the left foot in closer towards the right, which might accelerate the stretch in the back of the right leg. Any variation of this is absolutely fine. Hands can be on the floor or behind you. And if at any point you need a bit of a break, you can always bend that front leg and then come back to it a few seconds later, not the end of the world. Take a breath in. And an exhale. On the next inhale, let's bring the hands back towards the hips. And then exhale, tuck the chin towards the chest. Let's inhale to lift the torso upright. And then let's bend the left knee and drop that left knee to the floor. So same thing, we want to be vaguely square. So have a fiddle about with it until it feels comfortable. And then take an inhale, left arm up overhead. And exhale, stretch the left arm across the body, hooking the left elbow around the outside of the right knee. Feel free to use the other parts of the body to make this work. Shove the leg where you need to. Bring the right hand on top of the left, make a prayer. And think about twisting the torso to the side, maybe looking up over the right shoulder. And if you fancy it, same thing this side. You can tuck the left toes underneath and you can lift the left leg off the floor, totally up to you. If you did one variant of it on the first side and you feel like the second side is just going to make you fall over, then don't bother. It's not the end of the world. The basic shape is the same. Take an inhale and an exhale. Take one more breath in. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the foot. If we're not there already, let's lower the left leg back to the floor. Let's place the hands around the right foot, and then let's lift the left knee off the floor, stepping the right foot back to join the left in our plank, and let's lower it down, same as before. Inhale forward to our upward dog or cobra. And on the exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Take a breath in here. And an exhale. On the next inhale, let's bend the knees, look forward, and step the right foot forward and the left foot forward. We're going to hang the fingers in front of us a little bit, straighten the backs of the legs. And when we breathe in, let's deliberately lift the torso upright, stretching the arms towards the ceiling, finding a straight line. And exhale, back to standing. Take one breath in. And one exhale. And then let's get ready for our tree pose, which is going to be our balance position for the morning. So it's totally up to you which variation of this you want to take. We've done quite a lot of forward folds and forward movement. So if you fancy taking the up and open one, that might be a little bit nicer on the spine. So let's push down into the right leg, really finding some balance and structure so that we can lift the left leg away. You can pull it up a little bit to make sure the balance is good, and then find whatever variation you want to do with the left leg. So against the ankle, against the calf, against the inner thigh. If you want to take half lotus, that's fine by me. This is I falling over. Once you've found the balance and you're satisfied, we can bring the hands to prayer at center of the chest. And you can wait here if you wish. If you want to go a little further, you can take an inhale, reach the arms up overhead. And on the exhale, you can open the arms like branches, still dropping the shoulders away from the ears. If you feel like you want to do some additional movement, go for it. If you feel like you want to keep super still, really finding the balance, that's fine too. Maybe have a think about tucking the tailbone and tucking the ribs, keeping the center part of the body really strong. Inhale and exhale. On the inhale, let's bring the arms back through center and exhale a prayer down towards the chest. And let's nice and gently release that left leg back towards the floor. Not one person even wobbled. Well done. Give everything a little bit of a shake, and let's go at it from the other side. So again, pushing down into the left leg, finding the balance, giving yourself a second, and then pulling the right leg back up and in, finding the variation that you fancy. With each step, give yourself the same couple of seconds to find the balance before you move again. And we can bring the hands to prayer, center of the chest. We can inhale the prayer up, and we can exhale it open, arms out to the side. Same thing goes. Maybe think about tucking the tailbone, tucking the ribs in underneath, making the center part of the body really strong. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And one more breath out. On the breath in, let's bring the arms back to center. Let's fold them down towards the chest. And let's exhale, release the leg back towards the floor. Give everything a little bit of a shake. Well done, that was amazing. And we're going to come back to the top of the mat if you've moved away from it for some reason. And we're going to take a breath in, arms up overhead, gaze up. And exhale, fold the hands down to the mat. Bend the knees as much as you wish. Let's inhale to the fingertips or bring the hands to shins, all fine by me. And exhale, plant the hands, step or jump it back to our plank position. And let's lower it all down. Inhale forward for our cobra or upward dog. And on the exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Take one inhale here, and on the exhale, let's come forward to sitting any way you fancy. And once we're there, we'll stretch both legs out in front. So give everything a little bit of a wiggle. Try to find as comfortable a position as we possibly can. We're going to come for our Paschimottanasana. So take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead. And on the exhale, folding the torso forward and down, reaching towards the toes, maybe looping the peace fingers around the big toes if you've got space, or even around the outsides of the feet if you fancy that. Maybe today's a day where the backs of the legs feel a little bit more tender. We did quite a lot of stuff with them at the very beginning, which might mean that they're not really up for a super challenge, and that's fine as well. Wherever you land, take a breath in. And if you've got extra space, you can use the exhale to accelerate forward a little bit. Maybe surrendering the head down, letting the back of the neck open up. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale here. And on the exhale, let's release the hands. Inhale, lift them up overhead, straightening through the spine. And exhale them back out by the sides. Cool. Let's pull the right leg in towards the center of the chest, my absolute favorite every time. And let's drop it out towards the side of the room, pushing the sole of the foot against the inside of the left thigh. It's up to you whether you want to take the revolved variation, so left hand to foot, right arm overhead, or if you want to go with the full forward fold. I don't mind, totally your choice. Whichever one you're going for, we're going to lift the arms upright on an inhale. And on the exhale, twist a little bit to the left-hand side and make your choice. If you're going with the full forward fold, reaching towards the foot with both hands, let the head drop a little bit. Feel the length in the back of the neck. It's actually quite nice to pay attention to it every now and then anyway. And if you've gone with the twisted variation, you can always feel free to push it a little bit further if you fancy. But I think the forward fold is my favorite here every time. Take a breath in and use the exhale to maybe go a little bit further if you've got space. Take one more inhale. On the exhale, let's start to release the hands from the feet. Let's inhale to lift the torso up overhead, arms ahead as well. And exhale everything back down by the sides. We're going to point the left toes. We're going to push the right leg into the floor. Bring the right hand behind us onto the floor. Take a breath in. Lift everything upright. Dropping the left arm behind us. Taking a little back bend in our wild thing. Little variation. And on the exhale, you can start to sit it all back down. Be careful not to land on your own foot. And then let's stretch the right leg out in front and take the same thing on the left-hand side. So pulling the left leg in towards the center of the chest, dropping the leg to the side, rolling the sole of the foot against the inside of the thigh, have a bit of a wiggle, and then take a breath in, arms up overhead, twist a little bit to the right, and fold or rotate, totally your choice, reaching towards the foot. You might find this side really different to the first one. So today, for some reason, I can't get my left hand to my foot. It happens. So forgive yourself if you're at a point where something just feels a little bit tired. It's not the end of the world. Take a breath in. And same thing goes on the exhale, maybe dropping the head. Feel the back of the neck opening a little bit and lengthening out. Breathe in. And exhale. Let's release the hands from the feet. And let's inhale to lift everything back up, right arms overhead. Dropping the arms down by the sides. Give everything a little bit of a wiggle and let's get ready for our wild thing. So we're going to really point the right toes, pushing the left knee into the floor, left arm behind us onto the mat. Take a breath in, lift everything upright. Dropping the right arm behind us into our little back bend. We don't need to stay here for too long. On the next exhale, start to sit it all back down, still being careful of that foot. And then let's pop the left leg back out in front for balance. Give both legs a little bit of a wiggle. And then let's cross the legs over to take our little twist. So we're going to bring the right hand to the outside of the left leg or opposite. I don't mind at all. Bring the left arm behind us onto the floor. Take a big breath in, lengthen through the spine. And on the exhale, think about the hips, the center of the body, the ribs, the chest, the shoulders, and then maybe the neck and the head. Turning behind you, maybe looking out over the left shoulder. This is one of those twists where we can always make something more of it if we want to, but if you want it to just be a light piece of relaxation, that's fine too. It doesn't need to be anything super athletic or gymnastic. take an inhale and an exhale. Take one more breath in. And on the exhale, let's bring it all back through center. And let's do the same thing opposite side. So left hand to right leg, bring the right arm behind us. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale, starting to twist the torso, hips, belly, ribs, chest, shoulders, neck, and head. As always, it's much easier to go deeper into a twist on an exhale. So let the inhale fill up the body. And on the exhale, push further if you've got space for it. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's bring it all back around to center. And then maybe have a little bit of a twist in either direction, letting the spine reset itself a little bit. Maybe shrugging some shoulders, dropping the head one side to another, kind of trying to free up all the bits of the body that we've just been playing around with the whole way through the practice. And then we're going to pop both legs out in front. And we're going to come to our lying position for our back bend section. So stretching the arms out ahead. You can flop it down if you wish. You can do it with control if you wish. I'm not feeling like it's a very controlled day. So either variation of that is absolutely fine. And then we'll get ready for our back bends as always. So make sure the spine feels comfortable against the floor. And then we'll bend the knees, soles of the feet on the mat. And on an inhale, when you're ready, let's lift the hips up towards the ceiling, either in our bridge pose or pushing towards full wheel. I don't mind which one you choose. Makes no difference at all. We will be doing 2 of them, and they will be quite short. So you can always have a think about which one you prefer, doing 2 of the same, doing 2 different, up to you. Whichever variation of this you go for, we're always thinking about lifting the hips higher and having them sort of be the fulcrum of the body in the middle. So using the hips and then thinking about pushing down into the knees and through to the feet that are on the mat. It's not that it adds anything in a literal sense, but it sort of reminds you that they're there and that they're the kind of structural supports for all of these back bends. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, let's start to lower everything back to the mat, upper back, middle back, lower back to the floor. Maybe dropping the knees to one side and then the other in little windshield wipers. If that's not enough, feel free to pull the knees in towards the center of the chest, fine by me. Trying to focus a little bit of that massage action into the lower spine. And then we'll come back to center and take our second back bend. So totally up to you which back bend you want that to be. Bridge, wheel. You could also just lie there and have a bit of a rest. All good by me. Whichever variation you're going for, same thing as always. Let's find the position, and on an inhale, let's lift the hips up towards the ceiling, kind of growing super tall from wherever we're at. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more breath in. And on the exhale, let's start to lower upper back, middle back, lower back to the floor. And then let's pull the knees in towards the center of the chest. Wrap the arms around the legs. Give yourself a proper little hug. Maybe rock a little bit from one side to another. Make sure that the lower back feels okay. So we're going to move into our Shavasana in a couple of seconds. So if you notice that there's any tension in the lower back when you've been lying down, totally just down to the practice and it will fade in a bit, but let's try and get rid of it. And then when you're ready, find our Shavasana position, dropping the feet towards the corners of the mat, letting the hands fall beside the body. Have a bit of a wiggle. Find a place of total comfort. Maybe think about rolling the head against the mat so that the chin tucks a little bit. What that does is it lengthens through the back of the neck again. So something that we can constantly draw attention to is opening out through the back of the head. Take a breath in. And then a long, deep exhale. Let all of the practice go. All of those sun salutes at the beginning. All of our little forward folds from chair with crossed legs. our warrior one, and our forward folds from that position 2, right down to our side twists, and into our Paschimottanasana, and our Janu, and our wild thing, and our little back bends. It's a lot of work for the body to do, a lot of stretching, especially early in the morning. Let it all go. And then find a breathing pattern that suits you and that feels natural. Hopefully you're there already anyway. And the body is finally prepared for a last few minutes of total rest. Let's bring a little movement back into the fingers and toes. Let's rotate the wrists and the ankles a little bit. Maybe lifting the arms up overhead, taking a big long stretch. Tips of the fingers to the bottoms of the toes. And then exhale, pull the knees in towards the chest. Wrap the arms around the legs. Give yourself one last little hug. Maybe rock a little bit from one side to another. And then however you fancy, we'll come back to our sitting position on the mat. And we'll bring the hands to prayer at center of the chest. We'll take an inhale, lift the prayer up to the forehead, and exhale it down. Little thanks to everyone who joined us.